Hey everybody, how you doing? This is Ralph Graves. Thank you for tuning into the Ralph Graves Jr. podcast video. Thanks for being part of the radio show. And tonight's guest is none other than my friend, no stranger to the Ralph Graves Jr. show. I probably should make him co-host, Dr. Rocco Cater.
Hey, what's up, guys? Thanks for having me on.
My friend is here.
Happy to be here.
And it's we're doing this late at night, and I see, man, you're still in the office, man. What dedication!
You know, you gotta stir all the fires, man. It's not just one thing we're doing. We're keeping active, doing several things.
Yeah.
And feeding things at night too.
Right. Well, man, I just want to talk to you, man, and get you on the show, man, and just really help us process this. It's probably the hardest time, man, that our generation, well, anybody living today has gone through. I mean, we've never gone through anything like this. And I love calling you and chopping it up with you because you're a doctor on the front lines. You're a family practice doctor, and you're doing some great things, man. And you're in it day in and day out, man. And so tell me, what do you see right about now? They talked about the flattening of the curve. Has the curve flattened at all? What do you think?
You know, what's interesting is, we're still in that first wave. And I believe the curve was flattened. Absolutely. Part of the point of what we are trying to do with what they're calling mitigation and keeping everybody locked down is just to try to contain the speed at which this curve went up so that really, so that the hospitals and doctors could contain or at least give everybody the proper care and not have to turn away care. And some of the stuff coming over, say from Italy, was we had to choose who was getting a ventilator, and people who were younger were getting it because the older people had a good life. And so I think part of the hysteria.
That's what they said. The older people had a good life. That's it. That's just a wrap.
That's it. Like you have it's military triage. If you have 10 people who need to be saved, and you got one surgeon who can do that surgery, you're going to have to pick the guy who's going to have the best chance. So anyway, I think that was part of the hysteria. Even in medicine, it was like, we don't have enough ventilators. We don't have enough hospital staff. All the doctors and nurses are going to get sick. Right. And the joke was the psychiatrist was going to have to be intubating you because the ER docs and the ICU docs were all going to be sick. So
thank God that didn't happen. Thank God that didn't happen. Yeah.
Part of that hysteria was we got to just lock it down so that it's coming.
Right.
And you see that same curve at every country. It's the same curve.
Yeah.
And the point there was to just try to allow not so many people to get sick at one time so that we weren't turning people away at the ER and not sure what to do. So I think we succeeded in that. I mean, looking at the numbers, the curve was flattened, so that trajectory wasn't exponential. I mean, it was very close to exponential, but exponential, and it kind of topped off. So I think they achieved what they said they wanted to do, but this thing's not gone, man.
No.
Yeah, we're just getting more used to it, which is good. It's good and bad. We're a little more comfortable with the virus and what we can get away with, what gear we should wear, masks versus hand sanitizer and stuff. So we're out there doing it. But I think the plan was a success, and other countries are seeing the same thing.
Well, how much, like, from a preventative point of view, right? How much do vitamins and minerals and how much of that really helps us in preventing us from getting, we've got this great mysterious, we don't know how you're going to get it. How does our own health and our vitamins, how does that play a part in that?
Well, in medicine, it's tough to, in I'll say mainstream medicine or streamline in this medicine advice, it's tough to say, take a multivitamin, that's going to serve you well. In medicine, generally speaking, when patients see me in internal medicine, they say, "Doc, should I take a multivitamin?" And the truth is, maybe, the reality is, if you eat a decent, meal, you have a good variety, you got fruits, vegetables and stuff.
Right.
And maybe you take some vitamins. The idea is you're going to get enough supplements in general in different food groups that's going to give you enough of those vitamins that you don't really need a multivitamin.
But that sounds good. But most Americans don't eat those meals.
Correct.
Like that.
Correct. So the expert opinion is, this is hard to prove on paper. There's nobody doing formal studies to say these people who take multivitamins and these people who don't,
Right.
they get less cancer, they get less heart disease. So we can't prove that on paper. So the expert opinion is that it's not harmful to take like multivitamins and such,
Right.
but it's probably helpful. But when it comes to specifically the immune system, fighting the coronavirus, fighting the flu, any infections,
Yeah.
what kind of vitamins and supplements can be helpful to really support the immune system? And that's the question. If you're not in shape and you're
So
overweight
what are
and you
they?
just don't exercise.
What are they? What are they?
So listen, vitamin C has long been known to boost our immune system. The
Right.
antioxidant power of vitamin C alone is what helps. Zinc is another one. You see these things out in the pharmacies, Emergen-C or Airborne.
Right.
These things have some herbal supplements, but also heavy doses of vitamin C, zinc. These things are very helpful in immune system support. So if you're lacking these, it could make your immune system a little bit weaker. So pushing these doses can just kind of bolster your immune system and just give it a little extra boost, so that if it needs to come across fighting some stuff, including the coronavirus, it could help. You know, it's hard for me as a doctor to say, really, take vitamin C. There's evidence that this helps beat coronavirus.
Right.
I can't say it, but
Right.
we all have some common knowledge and some common understanding with herbs and supplements that some are immune system supporting. And that's where I would say with the pandemic, with flu season, fall and winter time, a lot of people go ahead and grab, and I'm guilty as charged. You know, I'll get my kids those little gummy Airbornes that they cost an arm and a leg.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, just have 2, not 3. We got to make these things last. So, because that's like $30 for one of these,
sure,
family of 5 over here. But
Right.
you know, I take that stuff. You know why? Because I think it does help, and it's certainly not going to hurt us. And I probably don't get enough vitamin C in my diet anyway, especially in the winter months, when maybe the fruit isn't as robust or isn't as
Right.
available or it's not locally grown. So vitamin C, zinc, you know, and then we got all of our B vitamins, B complex. All these things are helpful and utilized in many areas in our body, including our immune system.
Okay.
Things work, they intermingle. So it's not like vitamin C just helps our immune system. You know, it helps other things in our body. So does B complex. These things are used throughout our body in different mechanisms, with turning over cells and building immune systems and building new cells and breaking down cells. And so vitamin C and zinc, man, is the way to go with this. And even with the coronavirus, in the very beginning, they were talking about using high dose vitamin C, stuff that you really can't get. I mean, we have the IV business and we do some higher doses of vitamin C, but the point is, the vitamin C was one of the only treatments being utilized. Now, this was reports from China, so you know I'm a little nervous to give that evidence, but it is something that was utilized. And I'll tell you this: in the U.S., in ICUs, when patients are what's called septic, which means they have a bacterial infection in their blood, they use high dose vitamin C in the ICUs. This is evidence-based medicine. So when a patient is getting killed, man, with overwhelming amounts of infection, it's not the antibiotic, it's not anything else, it's not the fluids, it's high dose vitamin C is used in a lot of sepsis protocols in the ICUs.
Wow.
So that's something that is evidence-based, but we're not, we're trying to just boost our immune system here, but I'm just saying that vitamin C by itself has a lot of good evidence with it. And then zinc is another one, especially during cold and flu season, that a lot of natural remedies would utilize. So
I heard
that's the key there.
And let me know if this is true or not. You know, I heard that because our focus so much is on the coronavirus, COVID-19, that the number one killer is still heart disease. Am I right? Still.
There's still one out of 3 people, man. One out of 3
still
people
heart disease. And that now some folks are dying needlessly or dying because of lack of care, because healthcare professionals are so focused on it. Is that true? So focused on COVID?
Well, So it's not even that the healthcare professional is focused on COVID. It's that the patient doesn't want to come in. You
Oh,
know,
right.
that
Yeah,
patient,
yeah,
I've had
yeah,
so many patients say, "Doc, I'm not going to the emergency room. I'll take the Tums for that." Indigestion, that's actually heart
yeah.
disease. A lot of people are avoiding the emergency room, especially the sick people, especially people who have diabetes, heart disease. And they're like, I got some chest pain, but I don't want to go to the ER because I'm going to get coronavirus.
So should
So
hospitals
this
change
is
their
patience.
policy?
Well,
Should
their
they?
policy is come on in. Right now we had a period in the outpatient world. We had a period where we were doing telehealth, kind of like we're talking now. This is how we would do our consult in the office. Now we got everybody back in the office. We're doing occasional this, but everybody's back in the office. Emergency rooms, I don't believe wherever shut down. They were just, saying, we're going to send you over here if you have potential COVID, and we're going to send you over here. And doctors were a little bit hands off in the sense of I've heard stories from a lot of patients, you might go into a room in the ER and the doctor may call you on the phone and, hey, you pick up the phone, and say, so what's going on? They're really trying to avoid exposure. But at no time, to my knowledge, were hospitals not taking care of patients.
But when I say change policy, right? I mean, I don't know if I would want to go to the hospital knowing that not even my wife can come see me.
Yeah.
Like I'd rather
Well,
just die. I'd rather just die at home.
listen, it's been very tragic from the nursing staff to the
Yeah.
patients to the family, more so obviously to the family, that people were dying and sorry, we can't let you come in because we don't have enough gowns. We can't give you a mask because we don't have a mask. So that part was, you're right. So maybe you're saying policy is
Yeah, policy
visitor policy.
with that policy. Is
Yeah, the
that
visitor policy. I think that's gotten a lot better. I'll tell you what, I work for Cooper Hospital. Cooper Hospital has done a fantastic job with PPE.
right?
I think in South Jersey, they are definitely the best ranked as far as they had the gear. There's a small little time frame where they might not have had enough and stuff, but the general rule has been policies for visitors. But see, that's where the people are not going to the hospital voluntarily. Like, I have a major issue, but you know what? I'm just going to let this ride because
Yeah,
I don't want to go get COVID. So a lot of patients really were avoiding even my office. Either if they'd rather call something in. So you have all these patients who always come to the ER with chest pain and they're having a heart attack
right.
and they need a catheterization, they need
Yeah.
a bypass surgery, and they legit don't come to the ER because they're
Wow.
afraid and they
Wow.
don't know what to expect. And so I've seen heard a lot of patients come to see me, later talking about other people who went to the
Yeah.
ER and how they were treated. And they were treated respectfully, but hands offish, like
Yeah.
the doctor was in there for like 10 seconds. And
So
sometimes that
what?
happens anyway.
So what do we do? I know you don't know the answer, but
Yeah.
maybe next time when this occurs, because there's always going to be a next time. This is the world we live in. Whether it's 20 years, 40 years, 50 years, I'm sure some things have to be put in place to make sure that doesn't happen. And I don't know. It's just crazy, man. Because I don't know if I'd go to the hospital today, and it's not because of fear of COVID-19. I just know that once I'm there, if they keep me, I'm by myself.
You might be by yourself, but if you need to stay, that means you have a life-threatening thing, man. So a lot of people might be thinking that same thing.
Right.
I'm a little dizzy. Maybe it's a stroke. Well, I'll sleep it off instead of going to the ER.
Yeah.
And so you're going to get a lot more people. A lot more people are going to be hurting themselves in a sense because they want to avoid. And for the same reason, I don't want to not be able to have my power of attorney or my loved one. And even at Cooper, at our outpatient office, if there's a good reason, you got to come in with your wife because whatever reason, you can come in. You got your own mask now. Right now, all we require is just a face mask.
But that's at your office. That's not at the hospital.
Yeah, well, at the hospital, same thing. If you go into the ER, and now this is ER dependent, right? I'm talking about Cooper,
Right.
only because what I know. But you can come in, especially if it's a situation where you have to speak on behalf of a loved one. Someone had a stroke, they're not speaking, they have dementia, you need to
Right.
be there. That's okay. There are exceptions to the rule in that case,
Right.
but
Right.
you know, when you want mom and you know, my dad goes to the hospital and we all want to visit. So there's 8 people in a room. That can't, yeah, that can't happen.
Yeah,
But, and it does affect, it does affect the patient, and it does
it
affect the
does.
quality of care. And it almost feels like something's wrong. Like, why aren't you letting my family in? And unfortunately, it was a matter of protective equipment
Right.
and having too many people in a closed space because of exposure to the nurse, the doctor, the staff, the patient, the guest. And so one way we can prepare for that is having enough protective equipment. And that's one big lesson that I think we learned. But nobody really could have predicted the amount. I mean, this was
Yeah.
January. We're like, oh, this looks kind of serious. March, we're locking down the country. So in
Right.
those 2 months, the entire world was taking all the PPE they could get from 3M and from Purell and gloves and gowns. And so we had the nice position of observation for a few months to see
Right.
how people were treating the coronavirus and pitfalls and ventilators and trying to
Right.
mentally prepare. But they all been taking that PPE all that time.
Wow.
And listen, a
Yeah.
lot of that PPE comes out of China. So I don't know what they were letting loose or not. But by the time it comes to us, now we're hitting the panic button to order as much PPE as we want, and
I
we
just
can
got
get. We
some.
can't get it.
I just got some masks from China. Right. Let me tell you a funny
Yeah.
story. I got the, the real fancy, the neoprene with the
Oh yeah, with the little
ventilator
valves on them.
valves and those, right. And they got, of course, it took forever to get here. What, 6 weeks to get here from China? And so I get them, and it's all good. And then all of a sudden, I'm gonna tell you how crazy my mind is. All of a sudden, I said to myself, "They came from China. Did this virus come from China? What if they sprayed these down?
This thing is laced with corona.
This is laced with corona. I'm strapping it on my
I know,
face."
man. I know. It's the reality, but we really have allowed China, and I don't know the business stuff, but China
Right.
is making this stuff cheaper. And
Yeah.
when
Yeah.
it's a
Yeah.
shame, really, when the country is cheaper to send out particles and materials, get it built by another country, and then pay all the export and import, and
Right.
it's still cheaper than
Yeah.
having the guy down the street build your stuff.
Yeah.
So hopefully that changes down the road, right? But yeah, it's tough. I think the PPE was the biggest thing, and then a little bit of the unknown and
Right.
how is this transmitting asymptomatic. And it's been kind of scary. I'll tell you what. I think I mentioned on your show one time. It's like, for the first time, I feel a little bit like a police officer. You
Yeah.
put that
Yeah.
vest on. It's like I'm going into work, and I'm
Right.
not sure what's going to happen, and it could be dangerous.
Right.
And that's a scary thought, man.
Yeah.
That's a scary thought. So, but knowing that you have the proper gear for the battle is paramount. For us on the front line, it's like you have to go in prepared. We have masks, we have face shields if we need them, we have isolation gowns, we got plenty of gloves and hand sanitizer. And I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
it's easier to do your job when that stuff is intact.
Well, I know you and your
we feel safe.
officer are doing a wonderful job, man, and I salute you for what you do. But let's talk about Rocco Caven. Let's talk enough of the pandemic. I don't want anybody to tune out, man. But let's talk about you and your journey, man, and some of the things that. Let me ask you, man, because life's full of ups and downs, highs and lows, and I just want to share with my listeners and viewers, man, how have you handled setbacks or failures in your life? If you had a failure or a setback, how did you handle? Because this is going to help somebody. So kind of share with them.
It's a good question. When you're in the midst of a failure or a setback, you may not even realize it until you're like, oh man, I shouldn't have done that, or this was a bad decision.
Right.
And I can't help but bring God into this. It's when I have a setback, or if it's a failure, or it's just it wasn't the right decision. I always have this thought, like throughout life, that this happened for a reason, Rock. You got to figure this out. You got to sit down and you got to figure out what are you going to do to get out of this? If it's something to get out of, if it's a bad financial thing, if it was a relationship problem, whatever it was.
Sure.
And dealing with that setback is not letting it take you over. I mean, I think in some cases, depending on how bad the setback or mistake or problem was, if you got in trouble with the law or something, but giving it a time for it to kind of be in that upset. But putting your boots on, man, and pulling up your bootstraps and saying, all
Sure.
right, man, don't let this take you over. How do I get out of this? And in situations, what is it? Writing down a plan? Is it praying about it? Is it seeking advice from people who know what they're, people who are wise, like either parents or close friends or business people or colleagues? And setbacks for me. I'll tell you one great setback for me. A classic example. I didn't get into med school right away, man.
Right.
When I got out of undergrad, actually, before you go into undergrad, you apply to medical school because it's graduate.
Yeah.
It was a big setback for me. I applied too late to college, to med school. I applied in January to get in July. I didn't know you're supposed to apply in July to get in July, and you're supposed to interview in December.
Right.
So, man, when I had medical schools handing back my checks. Like, yeah, we're not even going to cash your check. Sorry, we already filled our class. I was like,
wow.
Wait a minute. I've wanted to be a doctor my whole life. Here I am, a senior in college with a 3 point whatever GPA.
Yeah.
I did good. And Rock ain't going to med school. And it was devastating to think that maybe it was embarrassing. I don't know. I was just like, well, why aren't I going to med school? What did you do wrong?
Right.
And so instead of saying, I'm going to just go be a biology major and work in a lab, I said, nope. What are you going to do, brother? You're going to get yourself up. You're going to figure out what does it take to get into med school. And so what I did was did some little bit of research. This was kind of before the internet was real big, but 1997, the internet, and we're doing things. But what I did was I met with the deans of colleges. I emailed people like, and I met with actually Dean Wallace, actually UMDNJ.
Okay.
I sat with him because I want to go to New Jersey, UMDNJ. I said I got a hold of him and I made an appointment and I said, hey, in a nice way. I'm like, listen, here I am, nervous guy.
Right.
What do I have to do to get into college?
Right.
What do I have to do to get an interview for college? And so that for me was a step that nobody really told me to do.
Wow.
And I thought, I got to speak to the people in charge who are making decisions in order for me to get into this school. So I sat with him. He's a real pleasant guy. He was very informative. He said, listen, take some advanced level biochem, advanced level graduate courses in your undergrad, reapply earlier, and then, let's go from there. Maybe retake your MCATs. That's the medical college admission test. My scores were good, but you could always make them better. Right. So anyway, I followed his advice, but the point of me getting out of that was not, just saying, I guess I'm not going to be a doctor. I couldn't get into med school. I didn't follow the exact path that everybody should be following. And I couldn't see being anything else, man. Yeah. I wanted to be a doctor. I said, what do I have to do? So then I went to the local ERs and volunteered and got.
You said something. Let me pause you right there. You said something, and which is important, and I want to touch on that while we have time. You didn't follow the path that everybody else was following, and I think that's so important for people to understand. Yeah. We think that there's only one way. We think that there's only one path to becoming who we want to become. And you decided, well, I can't go that route. I got to go a different route. And you stayed hungry. And I guess my next question is, what do you do now to stay hungry? I mean, you're accomplished. You've been out there, 15, 16, almost 17 years. How does Dr. Rocco Caven stay hungry now that he's achieved and he's arrived being a doctor for almost 20 years now? How do you stay hungry?
Well, I think the thing is, our life goals are the carrot, you know what I mean, before a stick. Yeah. We talked about a sweet spot. How do you land in your sweet spot? And that sweet spot changes, and for me, practicing this long, a couple of things start to happen. It happens in your career, everybody's career. You start to, what's going to happen, like in medicine. I'm not surprised when anything comes through the door. I have the wisdom to experience it. But there gets to a point where you're starting to get a little crispy, a little burned out, don't care as much. Yeah. Not me, you see my passion, but the point is for the time, I'm working for the man. I'm working for a big business. And for me, I now am in, what are you going to do to retire, man? Right. What are you going to do? What's the end point of your career? Sure. Or is there an end point? Are you going to rock till you drop? Sure. Or are you going to stop doing, aggressive business of medicine and get into consulting or teaching or some
Right.
other area of medicine. So
Right.
what keeps me going, man, what keeps me hungry is, looking forward to not retiring when I'm 75 years old. I want to
Yeah.
retire younger.
Right.
That's not going to happen on its own. So my hunger is, I need to get my kids through college. I need to retire when I can. I need to
Okay.
retire, when it's not traditional. Like, I don't want to wait
Right.
till I'm 75 or 65, 75. I want to have things in place. And what if my retirement doesn't work out?
Yeah.
What if the market crashes and I'm ready to rock and
Right.
roll
Right.
and I
Yeah.
can't,
Yeah. Right.
because of that.
Right.
So that's what keeps me hungry. So creating business ideas in my world, creating different forms of cash flow, so that I'm not so dependent on my job and my career to solely pay for my mortgage and things I love. You got to have a couple little things come in a different direction, fill in the bank account or the retirement fund,
Right. Right.
so that I'm not so dependent on my one job. We have to have multiple income streams. Something I was never taught. Growing up,
Yeah.
I had
Yeah.
my little Columbia Savings passport book, wherever that thing was, and that was my savings. But when you get to
Yeah.
college, I'm in so much debt anyway. So I don't want my kids to suffer with college debt as much. And so what keeps me hungry, man,
Yeah.
is working towards that end game. I
Right.
want to put my feet up and sit at the beach at maybe a beach house, or travel the world and visit
Right.
Europe and Asia,
Yeah.
and not be so dependent on working for someone else to pay my bills
Yeah.
for the rest of my life.
Now
So
talk about. It's a beautiful segue because I was going there. We know you're a phenomenal, top-notch doctor, one of the region's best. But you said another stream of income. Now, I don't want anybody to think that he's working down at the local deli, Wawa. Talk to us, man, about Revive Hydration. Tell the world about Revive Hydration and what led you to get into that particular field. Man, I listen. You guys see me every week, so I'm sold.
Yeah. I mean, you feel the difference. So
yes, I do.
Revive IV hydration is something that came up a couple of years ago. And this is something that's been out in the country for a number of years, 5, 6, 7 years, Vegas, California. And the idea here is that you can get IV fluids, which by itself is very beneficial. Most of us run a little dehydrated. But you can also get high potency IV dose vitamins infused into that IV to get that high potency. Yeah, that high potency. So we get vitamin C, B complex, magnesium, glutathione, B12, vitamin D, and all these things at a higher potency that you cannot achieve by taking those supplements. So what we're allowing is the patient to have access in a safe way, an FDA approved way, sterile fashion, with nurses and doctors, me being the only doctor here, but for the doctor to oversee your care and allow you to get some high dose vitamins to do several things. I mean, we have several cocktails depending on your purpose, whether you're an athlete, whether you have a migraine headache, or you just got over a virus or GI bug. We have what's called the Myers cocktail, which is the ultimate in what they call micronutrient therapy. This is the only IV therapy cocktail called the Myers cocktail that is even studied. The NIH has wonderful studies on this, been for decades. And it's one of those things that has been shown to be helpful in chronic diseases, asthma, allergies, rheumatoid arthritis, fibromyalgia, all kinds of things that this thing has been published to assist. And so then came this boom of, the social elites, singers and performers backstage, traveling a lot, doing these IV therapies to kind of keep them going. And, the rich people do it for a while, and then it kind of finally trickles down to the common folk. And so then you start hearing about it. And I looked into this a couple of years ago, and I thought, wow, this is pretty interesting. Is it safe? I wasn't sure, so it put me on a path of what a business opportunity this is. Number one, I want to make money. I want to be successful. Of course, I want the business to be successful. But the biggest thing is you're offering patients an ability to improve their health and wellness in a way that was never possible. I could be a kind of a trainer or a herbal supplement or a naturopath, and I can tell you take all these supplements, and they're all
Yeah.
pills, man. They're all absorbed 20-30%. You're not achieving high doses. And
Yeah.
so for that reason, the IV therapy comes in. You get 100% of that vitamin in your body. So if you take 1,000 of vitamin C, you're getting 1,000 of vitamin C, not 200, which would be the equivalent. So we're really, and then this is expanding into a wellness category. Patients are asking about this one thing called NAD. This is a huge thing for memory, for rejuvenation, for the aging cell. We're not doing that yet, but it's something we're thinking about. People ask about super high doses of vitamin C, like 100,000 milligrams of vitamin C. In one shot. And this is something that is supposed cancer treatment, that at that high of a dose, it converts into hydrogen peroxide and kills cancer cells, with leaving healthy cells alone. And there's actually some good studies on this. I don't offer that quite yet here, because my role and my philosophy is I want to make sure I'm doing things safe.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go slow and work my way up to comfort based on the data and research and my colleagues and peers that are out here doing this stuff.
Let's back up and talk about the NAD. You know, I'm a big in anti-aging. You know, you've been helping me with it. You know, I'm big in that.
Yeah.
So what is, you don't offer that just yet?
We don't offer it just yet. I have to say I'm not real savvy on it either.
Okay.
But this is something that I'm starting to get phone calls asking about.
Okay.
It's a compound in our body that is found to be depleted in the aging process. It helps with metabolism, cell structure, skin. Yeah, people do it. And it's something, by the way, that takes like 4 to 6 hours to get. It's
I heard it's painful.
I don't know if it's painful or not. If it is, it would be maybe in the arm if it goes too fast, partly why you drip it a little slower.
Yeah.
But it is something up and coming. And, you know, some of these guys who have been doing the IV therapy for a number of years on the cutting edge, man, it's one of those things that I'm not one to just jump on that bandwagon and start offering things that I'm not 100% certain they're safe. Yeah. I mean, I feel that it's safe, and my colleagues say that it's safe, but I have to go through that process of taking courses, learning about it, how do you do it. And that's the way I approach things. But it is something that, you know, this anti-aging, you know, we're in that category, man. Listen, I'm 45.
I'm 52,
You know, you start to feel it. You start to see the skin change and the face gets sunken in and the hairline recedes. And
I saw a line on my face the other day, and I was like, you know, what is that?
What is that? Is that a wrinkle?
Yeah.
Is that a wrinkle? But, you know, these are things that, you know, we can't completely reverse things, but we can slow down the process, you know, in patients with dementia or Parkinson's disease, you know, their glutathione levels are low. And so we see giving them glutathione is something that has been shown to be helpful. You can find some data for that. Yeah. Maybe not robust studies in the New England Journal of Medicine, but, you know, these alternative medicine practices are really trying this stuff out and finding people find positive results. So I'm offering access to that stuff in a safe way. And as we all learn about this and the benefits, we can continue to increase what we offer and tailor it to each individual. To customize for you, maybe even doing robust lab testing and getting this all checked out. Testosterone and hormone therapies are another area.
How do they find you, man, at Revive? Give us the address, give us the phone number. There's some listeners I know, man, that just want to jump on it and just try it. I'm telling you guys, you feel the difference. I feel the difference. Those first couple of weeks when everything was on quarantine or lockdown and you were figuring some stuff out, I was ringing your phone like, yo, man, what's going on?
You were hurting it. Yeah. Can you get a nurse to come out? Man, listen, we're located in Mantua. We're across from the Mantua Target on Woodbury Glassboro Road. We're right off of the exit on Route 55. We're at 660 Woodbury Glassboro Road in Timberline Shopping Center. It's in technically Sewell.
Yeah.
And, but it's Mantua. And our number is 856-485-0070. That's
Yeah.
856-485-0070. And our website is revivivhydration.com. And on Instagram and Facebook, we're IV Revive.
And they are 20 minutes from everywhere. If you're in Philly, it's 20 minutes. If you're in Atlantic City, it's 25 minutes. But they're 25 to 20 minutes from everybody. So if you're in the Philadelphia, New Jersey area, Delaware Valley, which we call it, and if some of my global listeners, whenever you're in the area, please check out Revive Hydration.
Yeah, man. Appreciate it.
Man, thanks for your time, man.
Travel around, man. No problem.
You do. You do home visits, too. I forgot about that.
Well, we do home visits. We'll go to Atlantic City. We'll go to the shores. Now things have been shut down, so that's a little tough. But that's our main target area as far.
You're going to miss that hangover crowd, man.
That's okay. I'm gonna tell you what. In the beginning, we thought the hangover thing was going to be fun and hip, but I'll tell you what. We get a few of those a week, but we mostly get wellness, athletes and wellness. Man, it's been great. So I'm learning a lot. This is where is keeping me hungry, and I'm getting the kids involved with some stuff with the business and my wife, and it's good to see the family. It's it's a family-run business, man. But it's nice to get the kids educated on what's the business, where's daddy at, what's the IV thing. So it's been awesome, man. It's been a great trip.
Dr. Kevin, man, you are that guy, man, and I appreciate you coming on and being part of the show, man, and keep doing what you're doing. And thank you for your time tonight, man. You blessed us, man. You really did. You really did. Guys, listen, thanks for tuning in. You've been listening to the Ralph Briggs Jr. Show. Thanks for tuning in on whatever. If you're on Spotify, thank you. If you've been watching us on YouTube Live, thank you. Check us out on www.dbam.com every Wednesday. Rock is on for a few minutes with us, and we have a great time. And check out Revive Hydration. But Rock, thanks for checking us out, man. Thanks for being a part of the show. I'll talk to you.
Thanks, Ralph. Appreciate you guys, man. I'll see you.